Today, I'm beginning a series on how the Mosque of Córdoba shaped the architecture of the medieval world that it once stood at the center of: Al-Andalus, Christian Spain, and North Africa. This video is meant to give you the broader context behind these visual forms, so that when we explore each one in detail later, you'll already understand the larger idea that connects them all. Let's begin. This was a time and place where ideas moved across what some people imagine as rigid frontiers. Art and architecture crossed lines that religion could not. My hope is that this series shows how forms and motifs, like arches, domes, and ornament, flowed far more freely between Islamic and Christian lands than their doctrines ever did. Together, they created what we might call the Pan-Iberian style, a shared visual language whose heart was in Al-Andalus, but whose reach extended to northern Spain and across the Strait of Gibraltar, shaped by trade, conquest, and the constant mingling of peoples. The Mosque of Córdoba became the source, the melting pot and birthplace of architectural forms that would echo for centuries. It reused Visigothic and Roman elements, yet transformed them into something unmistakably Umayyad, befitting a caliphate ruling a mosaic of faiths and ethnicities. Let's look at how that influence spread. We'll go in rough chronological order, starting with the Islamic successors and then moving to the Christian reinterpretations that followed. At the heart of the mosque's 10th century expansion under al-Hakam II, we find three magnificent domes, innovations with no clear precedent. The Capilla de la Via Viciosa once marked the entrance to the Maxura, the sacred enclosure near the Mihrab. These are the prototypes, the domes that inspired domes, which inspired more domes. The first echoes known to us appear in the Mosque of Bab al-Mardum in Toledo, built in the late 10th century, and the Capilla de Belén at the convent of Santa Fe, perhaps the private oratory of al-Mamun, the Taifa leader of Toledo. I must say, we know from literary sources that there were domes at the Salon Rico of Medina Azara, and I wonder if there might have been at the Mosque of Medina Azara as well. However, these places have collapsed and we don't know what they looked like. Far to the south, the great Mosque of Tlemcen, in 1136, repeats the ribbed vault of Cordoba, yet this time the broader beams appeared covered in vegetation of stone. Even the castles of Biar and La Atalaya in Vienna, mentioned in the 12th century Arab sources, preserve Islamic vaulting traditions and defensive architecture. Now let's talk about the influence that moved into Christian lands. In France, the Church of the Holy Cross at Oloron shows an early echo in the 11th century. In Castile, the Capilla de la Asunción at Las Huelgas and the Iglesia del Santo Sepulcro in Torres del Rio, both from the 12th century, adapt the Córdoba dome within new liturgical frameworks. We see similar structures in San Miguel de Almazán, San Millán de Segovia, and San Blas in the French Basque region. By the early 13th century, the style reaches Salamanca's Old Cathedral and the Capilla de Talavera, and the Church of the Vera Cruz in Segovia. Later examples continue in San Andrés de Sevilla and the Capilla Dorada de Santa Clara de Tordesillas, where the Maxura layout reappears, only now the central focus was an altar, not a mihrab niche pointing to Mecca. In the later Gothic and Mudejar centuries, Córdoba's language still persisted. We see it in the Capilla de los Condestables, the Capilla de la Presentación, and the Cimborio of the Burgos Cathedral, and again in the Capilla de la Natividad de María and the Iglesia de San Gil, where the same ornamental logic reappears on a more intimate scale. The tradition continues in the Dome of Laseo in Saragossa and in the Concatedral de Teruel, where a Caliphal pattern is reborn in Gothic stone. Even into the 20th century, in the Templo Votivo do Mar in Panjón, you can still feel the echo of Córdoba's forms. Across all these examples, the mosques, castles, chapels, and cathedrals, the same truth emerges. The visual power of Córdoba endured for centuries. Its language was so admired and so adaptable that it crossed the boundaries of empire and creed. The chain of influence isn't always clear. Many examples probably were lost to time. But we can trace the line back with confidence to al-Hakam II's Cordoba, where a caliphal vision reshaped the very skyline of Iberia and North Africa.